How do I start a Metroid video without bringing up that it is a well-deserved, critically acclaimed, fan-favorite franchise starring the greatest female protagonist, who is plagued with the most inconsistent sales figures because people won't give the series a fair chance, including the women who complain about not having enough representation in gaming. Well, hopefully I can change that today with my review of Metroid Dread. Now, fair warning, this video will contain heavy spoilers for not just this game, but also the entire Metroid series, including the cult classic Metroid Prime Pinball.
Okay, that was bad, but it's fine. I did it.
Since this is the first Metroid game in 19 years that isn't a magnificent prequel or remake, which makes Metroid Dread the last canonical game in the timeline until the foreseeable future. If you just don't care and want to be spoiled anyway, well, fuck it. More views for me. Now, if I was going to recap the Metroid saga, it has always been a story about the scientifically advanced bird aliens called the Chozo and their relationship with the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter, Samus Aran, and the ultimate warriors, Metroids. While Samus is a heroic femme fatale orphaned by the Chozo at a young age, the Metroids were genetically engineered by the Thoha tribe of the Chozo to drain the life energy of its prey. Unsurprisingly, the Toho lost control of their bioweapon, and with the Chozo being an infertile, male-only race, they were allegedly too extinct to prevent the Metroids from sparking even more crises. Thankfully, their genetic enhanced daughter commits genocide on the facehuggers, which totally didn't end up having any consequences on the ecosystem. If you couldn't hear the sarcasm in my voice, the Metroids were designed to be the sole predator to the even more dangerous X-Parasite 19, who can absorb and replicate the DNA of its hosts, living or dead. As a result, X done give it to Samus, but she is saved by a Metroid vaccine, and with our bounty hunter bad habit of blowing shit up, she obliterates the X-Parasite and then its planet SR-388 by setting a biological research station containing even more X-Parasite on a collision course to rival the death of the dinosaurs. So, that's how I met your mother. Then, the galaxy was at peace. But before Samus can get a much needed vacation, the Galactic Federation, whom seems to be her only client, received a mysterious video transmission of the X-Parasite alive in the breath of the wild. The sender and its transmission was traced back to the planet ZDR, and with the Federation good track record of stopping intergalactic threats, they sent a team of 7 large research robots called Emmy to investigate. But it was clear that they should have been programmed to terminate the X-Parasites when their communications was lost. To the dismay of Samus demanding AI companion, Adam, she believed it was up to her to go find out what was happening on ZDR, with her being the only person being immune to the dangerous X-Parasite. Once Samus reached the surface of the planet, she takes an elevator to ZDR's underground facility and loses communication with Adam. Then our bounty hunter confronts her first organism, which is none other than a living Chozo alive in the wild. So Samus tries to shoot Birdman until he dies, but it doesn't work and he gets the upper hand, then just walks away as our bounty hunter is stripped of her abilities for the millionth time. Before Metroid Dread came out, I took the liberty to play and beat Metroid Fusion and Super Metroid, where the intended method of movement was with the D-pad. So if you gotten used to the platformer standard, then this game mandatory use of the analog stick might take some time to get used to, but ultimately, I think it was an ideal choice, giving you more precise aiming, especially with the built-in free aiming. Plus, Samus does move with purpose in this game, with the newly added slide that can be used to get through cramped spaces, and even be used as an invasive maneuver. Wall jumping is pretty much an essential and simplified mechanic, where now you can just press B against a wall to make the magic work. Ledge grabbing returns from Metroid Fusion, and along with Samus' standard power beam, she has access to her missiles from the start. After gaining your David Jaffe tutorial, Samus connects Adam to the first of many network stations, where he will remind our forgetful hero to leave ZDR ASAP, as she navigates the diverse regions and the multiple modes of transportation of the hostile planet. Plus, you can save your progress in its safe havens if Metroid Dread plentiful checkpoints weren't enough for you. The melee counter returns from Metroid Samus Returns, but now you can do it while you're moving and even perform it out of a slide. It can be a punishing but very rewarding mechanic. A good example of this is when Samus discovers a not so friendly enemy, trying to extract any remaining shred of innocence she has left. While Samus may be the strongest warrior in the galaxy, then the enemies are the most durable robots in the universe, sponsored by Flexate. However, our bounty hunter's Metro DNA lets her siphon energy, such as the enemy control unit, which gives Samus access to the Omega Blaster that can and will get the Nightmare Fuel, something to fear, assuming you don't just casually run up on them by accident.
I don't want to go back in. Wait, it's game over?
And just when our bounty hunter thinks she could get a break, she is confronted by a other enemy, and the only thing that she can do for now is run. If it wasn't clear enough already, Adam reassures that all 7 enemy have been hacked and reprogrammed to extract Samus' soul on sight. I can't wait until somebody mod all 7 enemy to one zone and force David Jaffe to play it. Now for something that is even scarier than David Jaffe's hot takes is Metroid Dread's water physics. If you haven't played any Sonic game before, then you should be able to guess on how traversing in water in this game feels like. Sure, you can prevent the handicap movement with the gravity suit, but in both of my playthroughs, I got it pretty late as the developer intended. But again, the game does promote sequence breaks. Getting some of the items early is rewarded by the developer, while some are not really intended by the developer. But it is nice to have options. After adjusting some water levels, Samus will find the first of many map stations that will give you a rough outline of your current region and its major landmarks. And correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, I guess. For the first time in forever, You can set markers on a Metroid map. It may seem like a small addition, but if you want to come back to something later, you can just put a pin on it, which I personally love. There is a lot of doors that Samus can just open until she gets the pretty self-explanatory charge shot that she can use to proceed forward and to be used as a decent alternative to her missiles if you're strapped on ammo. Plus, if you hold Samus' charge shot in the air, then it can be used as a discount screw attack. In typical Metroid fashion, Metroid Dread basically progresses faster the sooner you earn major upgrades, just as this. The same thing applies to the story and the background that tells its own atmospheric and transformative story as well. All that water Samus drained earlier filled up the chasm where her and Birdman fought. It is the little details like that makes Metroid Dread special. After appreciating this game's world building, Samus finds a other control unit for the enemy, but this time will make her earn the chance to siphon it. And even with its Mother Brain defense, it shouldn't take our bounty hunter too much effort to get back the Omega Blaster, and to also siphon the Omega Stream, which is used to break the enemy's defense before you can finish them off with the Omega Blaster. Unfortunately, the enemy won't just stay still to let that happen, so master your spacing and conquer your anxiety to siphon your next major upgrade, the Spider Magnet, which lets Samus attach and navigate magnetic surfaces, and if it is a vertical one, you can basically recreate the Super Metroid wall jump. Now, just expect to repeat the process of running for your life, defeating a discount Mother Brain, and using her essence to steal a other robot essence 6 more times. Sure, it may sound like it could get repetitive and terrifying, and sure, you might be right about the second part, but if I'm being honest, the enemies is a much better way to progress the story and the player's abilities than the SAX could ever do. Metroid Dread only gets as hard as you make it. If you thought the enemies were hard, then get ready to fight the bosses of this game. If you see a door covered with Gwyneth Paltrow's goop, you better hope you save before you go through and get ready to shoot in the dark to earn the Phantom Cloak, which is a Aeon ability that renders Samus completely invincible to enemies. This will save your ass a lot from enemies, so don't be afraid to use it. And if the caverns of Ataria wasn't cool enough for you, then make your way up to the heated energy source of ZDR's Cataris, where you will reroute the thermal fuel and magma to proceed forward, and to give you more ways to escape from the enemies, since a lot of them will have Samus' iconic abilities, just as a Morph Ball, assuming sliding wasn't good enough for you. But whatever you choose to hide with, those methods won't protect you from extreme heat. So go to your local Altex to buy a ultra-wide monitor, take Bumblebee on a date, and embark on an intense escape sequence. Samus will finally earn the Varia suit to tackle the warmer areas you skip out on. I wish it was a gravity suit instead, but you get to fight bosses like Kraid in the meantime. Samus. Yeah. After seeing some creepy foreshadowing, our bounty hunter earns some morph ball bomb, and yes, it may sound like a simple and self-explanatory power-up, but if you got really good timing, you can perform some sequence breaks, even if you don't like rhythm games. And for a change of pace, Metroid Dread makes you traverse to the submerged Berneria region, which contains the gravity suit. But if you purge yourself from the internet on your first playthrough, like I did, then you just have to be patient and go with the flow. All things considered, Berneria could be a lot worse, and at least you're rewarded with the Eon ability, Flash Shift, which can be used as an evasive maneuver, platforming, and even give Samus a second wall jump with good timing. So basically, another great sequence break upgrade. Now, assuming you're blind like I am, take the Infinity Train back to Dairon and siphon the granddaddy of sequence break upgrades, the Speed Booster, which consists of two parts. The first being the simple but effective supersonic speed, and the second being able to carry that speed into a Shrine Spark that lets Samus prepare herself even faster in multiple directions. When in doubt, figure it out with the Shrine Spark. And speaking of an item that needed an upgrade, was the Grapple Beam. If I was just going to compare it to Super Metroid's Grapple Beam to Metroid Dread versions, then the difference is night and day. Like, it is actually a tool that I and actual speedrunners will want to use, unlike in Super Metroid, where it is just ignored. Now, I would like to grapple your attention to let you know that if you made it to this part of the video and you're having a good time, and I also already made you want to buy Metroid Dread, then I am really grateful. But real talk, if you still haven't beaten this game yet, then you must add this video to your watch later, assuming you're watching this on YouTube, because we're going straight to Berneria for the plot twist. Samus stumbles upon a Chozo hieroglyphic depicting Birdman executing Order 66, and before she could shoot it to death, our bounty hunter is attacked by a wave beam. Of course, the culprit is none other than Amy, who almost get the upper hand on Samus, but is shut down by other Chozo alive in the wild. She consciously accepts his help so he can spill the tea. Our savior introduces himself as Quiet Rogue of the Thoha tribe, who created the Metroids and was the primary caretakers of Samus when she was growing up. Unknown to us for most of the series, or maybe just me, was that there was a separate warrior faction of the Chozo called the Mocking, who was led by the ambitious Birdman himself, Rivenbeak. And if you believe in the butterfly effect, he indirectly caused all of the major events of the series. So now, I'm gonna let Quiet Rogue speak for himself while I nerd out.
Uramahar Bantamugitos Salpura Mathroid Kunihabari Hundar Karasabekes and Holchanim Linkatalu Ili Uliris Sabalba Ashkar Behek Hasari Gale Ubana Dosh Elegar Mir Ninu Barash Nek Ili Ferun Dar Hadar Les Ninu Kedar Ili Mathroid Mugi Tanam Darbi Hadar Bunta Eiris Dosh Eka Ili Gimel Ashkar Behek Gabori Dosh Balan Ili Mathroid Dosh Ili Tarin Nalima Hem Satar Humbin Bi Kalki Sakra Doshorek Bura, Nino Mejirin ili Zoja Hasana, Bimura Kabara ili Sahali, Doshuran ili Mathroid. Galmir Tostek, Ananakoden Mugi Akalai. Ashkar Behek, Hem ili Maukin, Hasana Hasari Anabalta Dosh Humahar Sarian, ili Darin Alima. Les Nudakan Dosh Geren Humahar Korgangal Turuta Mathroid. Sabalba, Humtalaris Le Shak Sirugali Nebak, Hem Mugi Lamai Dosh Goro Humahar Yoris Me Kohana. Aitar ili Gelsu Manu Naloni Ishka ili Agarna Lima, Mugi Garama Bi Eris Les Nido. Ili Darin Nalima Megorile Shakutanka, Omtar Humahar Gelsu Mugi Barilin ili Eris. Arek Ebores Ashkar Behek Elemeirisi Dosh Karodan Hum. Ninu Aros Hakame Ninumahar Meheni Dosh Tumema Ninumahar Yoris. Ishili Mathroid Meili Agarna Lima. Habari Bama Mugi Sarali Lina Tamahar Toshek. Nutili Mathroid Esborodo. Ili Yoristar Ashkar Behek Dora Habar Bados Les Maradan. Has Bados Les Maradan. Ashka Urugal Ata. Ili Emai Marhuma Satari Lin Ashkar Behek. Tamus Arlan, Feje Hadoran, Ninu Habar Kumani Humdosh, Tebolen Nili Mathroidim Ishkanulisa Tamaharisbi.
Kino Ulu Truda, Ana Maril Sanur Pura, Ay Marhel Kalo.
Atan Estor Daburis Urahama, Ana Habar Kisadi Is.
Unfortunately for us, Ravenbeak is always watching, and even in the Metroid universe, snitches get stitches.
Ana Manbala Meyata Camus.
Fuck. Now, with renewed anger and depression, Samus can attempt to reach the surface with no enemy trying to stop her until she stumbled upon a Unlan, which is the maximum security prison with no guards, to contain the invasive X parasite. Even with our bounty hunter Metroid DNA that let her absorb the copycat's original form, I would expect a huge difficulty curve from now on, because X is personally going to deliver game overs to ya. I used to question the art style of this game, but I feel like it portrays the horror of the X-Parasite. For example, they will try to mimic the Chozo soldiers until you kick their ass enough, then they will just give up on being a perfect copy. Similar to the SA-X and Metroid fusion, or more often. Plus, I personally think this X-Parasite perfectly represents the YouTube algorithm for spoiling this fight and the actual presence of the X in this game before it even came out. down. Okay. Oh my god. Don't worry. That is only the beginning of my rage. Because Ravenbeak has the audacity to release all of the X-Parasite that were in confinement to send a message, I guess.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Even worse, the X spread fast enough to reach the corpse of the homie Quiet Robe. And with the parasite tendency of trying to take out any potential threat to its existence, the remaining Emmy are reactivated. Even much worse, just like the wave beam Emmy, the rest of his friends got projectiles. So it's back an even bigger difficulty curve from now on. Once you give up on pronouncing Shozo, our bounty hunter should come across the spin boost upgrade, which basically gives Samus a double jump, or if you're an experienced Metroid player like me, it is a discount space jump. But both will help circumvent underwater transversal until you get the gravity suit, which also protects Samus from the extreme cold, since her Metroid DNA makes her vulnerable of it. And if you ignore her fight with the Omega Metroid in Metroid Fusion, she can't use the Ice Beam. So she has to use the Ice Missile instead, which basically functions the same way. Now, for something that isn't necessarily needed for the speedrun of Metroid Dread, but still a much needed improvement of Super Metroid, was the Analyzer, which was meant to help you find secrets. But if I'm being honest, it broke the pace of the game, since you gotta press select a million times and stay completely still while doing it. Now, for its spiritual successor, the Pulse Radar, which basically functions the same, but Samus can remain active while doing so. And sure, holding forward on the D-pad may be an awkward placement, but you can always remap it to the unused rail buttons of the Joy-Cons, which more Switch games should take advantage of. Soon, our bounty hunter should get the Storm Missile upgrade, which lets Samus attack multiple enemies at once with a barrage of micro missiles. It is not the strongest tool in the game, but it has its uses, such as getting access to one of the strongest tools in the Metroid series, which is the Space Jump, which won't let Samus touch the ground until she gets the gravity suit. Thank you, God. Before you can go fuck up the Wave Beam Emmy, hell is freezing, or at least DDR is, and our bounty hunter must find the X responsible for it. If you remember the creepy foreshadowing I mentioned back in Dairon, and its anomalous experiment in the background, then well, one X saw that as real estate, and is kindly blocking the thermal energy routed from Catalyst. So Samus has to teach that fucker a lesson. done. Anyway, it's a good but questionably early reward compared to other Metroid games. It's the iconic screw attack, which basically trivializes any normal enemy, but doesn't mean Metroid Dread won't stop kicking your ass. Just like their own predators, the X-Parasite can evolve if the situation demands it, such as Gozuna, who deceives you with a weak appearance, then force you to take full advantage of all of your abilities to earn the cross bomb, which lets our bounty hunter quickly prepare herself in her morph ball form horizontally and vertically. Now, you could take an early trip to the surface, but you can't make any real progress until you settle your beef with the wave beam enemy, who should be a total cakewalk with your abilities. Then Samus can just siphon the ability to shoot through solid objects and terrain. At this point, whatever the next enemy throws at us can stop our bounty hunter. Well, anything besides a power bomb. Fortunately enough for Samus, her Metroid killer instinct kick in, where before she can just siphon energy from her enemies to now where she can literally absorb them to fucking death. With that overwhelming amount of strength, Adam believes there is no time like the present to defeat Ravenbeak. But before you can, you learn more about our bounty hunter genetic makeup. Canonically speaking, the Metroid timeline takes place in our own Milky Way galaxy in a possible future, I guess. And Samus was clearly born a human, but mainly growing up on Zebes, she was infused with Thoha DNA, which was donated by a Chozo called Grey Voice, so that she can survive the harsh environments of the planet. But our bounty hunter was also infused with Malkin DNA, so she can fight back as well. And the donor was none other than Ravenbeak, who disappointingly refers to Samus as his daughter. And before they duke out to determine the fate of the galaxy, and Birdman doesn't fuck around. Ravenbeak is a true definition of a damaged sponge. But just like the other bosses in Metroid Dread, none of his moves are impossible to dodge. So eventually, when you think Samus gets the upper hand, unlike last time, Birdman puts her back in the same position just like last time. In typical villain fashion, Ravenbeak bloats and tells our bounty hunter his big evil plan. This is not happening, dude. However, Birdman forgot to consider that in Metroid, greatest strength is its potential to evolve. And this is where Samus Aran truly becomes the ultimate warrior. And somehow the game is still not over. And somehow Ravenbeak survives not just a Metroid attack, but also his whole fortress in the sky falling down with him. Birdman is a tough bastard, but in a cruel, ironic twist of fate, one of the ex-parasite he helped escape from Ulan transforms him into an abomination, and the galaxy new apex predator puts Ravenbeak out of his misery. Fucking eviscerated, dude. The game is now over, bro. And in a typical Metroid fashion, ZDR enters to self-destruct mode, and Samus must run back to her gunship. It doesn't take too much effort for our ultimate warrior to make it back to her gunship, but Samus' newfound strength will drain the gunship of its energy. And to make matters worse, the ex-parasite acquired robe appears behind her, and she hesitates to shoot even when she believed the ex-host has no soul left to bargain with. But this one was different. To Samus' surprise, the ex-parasite sacrifices itself and restores our hero back to her normal state, so that she can leave before it is too late. What a fucking ending, dude. The mission was a success. Samus thwarted Ravenbeak's evil plans for galactic domination, and any trace left of the X-Parasite was blown away by the hostile planet. This should be a joyful victory, but a lot of things must be on our hero's mind. Even with the mocking tribe's evil intentions and sins, they were the closest thing she had left for family. And did an X-Parasite truly find a soul? Samus must continue to live with these thoughts until she sees us next mission in this masterpiece. If you couldn't tell from my depressing monologue, then it is easy to say that I really love Metroid Dread. I already thought Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion were some of the greatest games of all time, but I believe this game surpasses them leaps and bounds. I know I'm repeating myself, but I really love Metroid Dread. And now I feel like I was finally able to show my appreciation with this video. Unless Halo Infinite doesn't get delayed again and shatters my expectations, then Metroid Dread is my game of the year, and I recommend it to anybody. It is worth every penny and dollar you have. So go out and legally support this game.